listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. For those of you who don't know me, I awakened with wolves when I met a real wolf. It talked to me just as people talk, and they taught me to read the energy of the heart. As a result, I can intuitively hear plants, animals, and people. I became an intuitive, a healer, and a writer as a result, and you can find me at trueself.com. We have a very exciting guest for those of you who are interested in nature, interested in plants, and interested in planetary healing. We have Pam Montgomery with us. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. So let me tell you about Pam, and then we'll talk about her new book, Healing the Split from Nature, which I think is something that has to take place if our planet's going to go through an awakening. So Pam is an herbalist, author, international teacher, earth elder, and new paradigm thinker who has passionately embraced her role as a spokesperson for the green beings, and has been investigating plants and their intelligent spiritual nature for more than 3 decades. Pam Montgomery is an herbalist, nature evolutionary international teacher, and the author of 2 books, including Plant Spirit Healing, as well as Healing the Spirit from Nature, Healing the Split from Nature. Let me say it correctly. So she plays at Sweetwater Sanctuary in Derby, Vermont. So Pam, how did you come to write the book, Healing the Split from Nature? You had to be inspired with all you wrote.
Well, yeah, I mean, the title is actually Co-Creating with Nature, Healing the Wound of Separation. So
okay, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for correcting me. I appreciate it.
It's okay. Well, it's been, this topic has been present for me for years and years and years of just trying to understand where we're at on the planet right now and how we got here, and just realizing that what I'm seeing all around me is, I mean, the earth really she knows how to heal herself, but there seems to be quite a bit of disruption on the planet right now. And it's like, why is such a large part of the population viewing nature as a commodity? And so I feel like this huge separation has occurred. And that is kind of at the crux of the ecological, environmental, existential crises we find ourselves in these days. So it's been really present for me. And I thought after I wrote my last book, I was like, oh, I'm never going to write another book. And then I was just like, no, you have to write this one. You have to really talk about this huge issue that's happening right now. So anyway, that's kind of what happened. And I find myself in the winters now in Belize. That's where I spend my winters. And when I'm there, there's this it's so lush, and the plants are just like oozing like life force all around you. And then there's the Caribbean Ocean as well. And I just get in this really creative kind of cycle when I'm there. And so a few winters ago, I was there and I was just like, you got to do this and you got to do it now. And so I started writing, and that's how it all happened. But it was really because of just feeling like it, this intense, you know, kind of need to tell the world that we really need to realize we're a part of nature too. And we continue to be separate from that which gives us our very life, sustains us. It's like that's a path down the wrong road. So
Well,
anyway, that's how it
I'm going
happened.
to hit a few interesting points and then you can
Yeah.
choose what you want out of it. Okay, so as individuals, this is something that we can actually, with our own individual effort, by reconnecting with the earth, we can make a huge difference. You believe that part of the separation comes from the way that so many people are involved in ego and not their inner self or their heart. And then I have to agree with you, colonialism is part of why all this is going on. People can't have enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. All of the above. So, okay, let's see. Where do we want to start with this? Well,
Individuals can help, and then the separation.
yeah. Yeah. Um, well, the whole colonialism piece, I mean, once you start to, you know, become, the oppressed and the oppressor and all of that, and the takeover of land and ownership of land and all of that. And once it kind of progresses to the point at which you have the conquerors, the conquerors are after is the resources and the resources of the land. And then the people, once you lose your sovereignty with your land, then you start to forget. And that's really where it begins, is that once you fall into that amnesia, and that's what I feel like, fallen into this deep amnesia, and we've forgotten what wild water tastes like. We've forgotten, what it means to have healthy, rich soil that makes healthy, rich plants. We've forgotten that, we can walk out our door and literally right outside the door, there's a whole pharmacy out there. And we've forgotten that these plants, these wild growing plants, are both food and medicine. This is the original food and medicine here on the planet for us. And so all of that has, like, I mean, there's pockets, of people coming around and wanting to learn about herbs again and plants and all of that. But mostly there's this deep amnesia that we've just completely forgotten what it means. I mean, when you introduce yourself about the wolves, I just saw a little blurb about the man who spent a lot of time in with the Aborigines, and how when they found out that he couldn't hear the stars, they were shocked. They were like, "Oh, you're very ill. Oh, you must be ill. You can't hear the stars." And I
Well,
was
we
like,
should all be able to hear the stars. That's some
right.
of
And
the
I was
best
like,
music on the
yeah. I
planet.
mean, that was originally, that's our birthright. That's our original blueprint, is to be able to, I mean, it's not maybe the words that you and I are making for each other, but we can remember the language of the rest of nature,
And
which,
that's in the heart.
yes, that is in the heart. It's not in the head. This is not a figure it out kind of thing. No, it's a heart experience. So once we're able to make that long journey from the head to the heart, then we can start to really come from that place and listen with the heart. So yeah, it's this amnesia. And now that, and we've forgotten. And so now it's really time to wake up and to remember who we really are and to remember what our original blueprint is. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to say this because people will say, well, I take walks outside, but that's not the same as connecting when you walk outside
Right.
and really moving into that. And so the other thing is, I mean, it's just got to stop with this thing of not having enough and destroying things to have enough.
Right.
And I doubt seriously, that protesting or anything like that is going to make a difference, but we could see it changing. You know,
Yeah.
the other thing that has troubled me is billionaires buying up farmland. I grew up on a really big farm, and I can tell you there's a true statistic. If you don't live on the land and own it, your yield with crops goes down 60 to 70%. And you know why? The earth can't feel you.
Right. 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 Yes. And the other thing that's so amazing to me is that, um, well, this whole notion of relationship with which then can move into partnership, to actually be in this partnership. And once you really start to make those connections, and it's really like, um, I mean, it doesn't have to be some big profound thing. I mean, it can be that. But when people do a simple thing like realize where their breath comes from, I mean, this is simple. This is basic, foundational. It's that we all breathe, and where does your breath come from? Where does that oxygen come from? All of it comes from plants, trees, and sea vegetables. All of the oxygen. And so then you're like, oh, this tree here, oh, is breathing out oxygen, and I'm breathing in oxygen, and I'm breathing out carbon dioxide, and the tree is breathing in carbon dioxide. Oh, we're breathing together. Oh, so then once you bring it into that conscious awareness, like you bring it up a notch of like, oh, I'm the breath of another being. Wow. And suddenly it takes it out of the mundane. Like, this is just what we do every second of every minute of every hour of every day. We breathe. But now you bring it into that awareness of like, where does that breath come from? And it comes from the green beings.
Mhm.
It takes it to a whole new place. It's like suddenly you're already given relationship. I mean, it's a given that we're in relationship with plants because we breathe. And so, but now it's like, oh, so you mean I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that, for those green beings? Yeah, that's what it means. You wouldn't have your life.
If you really want to experience it, get up 15 minutes before sunrise and start to meditate. And as the sun comes up, the trees emit a huge wave of oxygen, and something about catching that with the sun, I swear it will change your entire day.
Right, right. The Buddhists have a whole practice around that of like receiving, like just what you're saying. The minute that sun comes up, it's literally it does the warmth like pushes the air in front of it, and they call it the first breath to receive that first breath of the day. And I love sunrise. It's my favorite, most favorite time of the day. So I try to be up with the sun every morning.
Yeah, and I am a total night person, and I would never willingly get up before 9 o'clock if I had a choice. But I have a cat that wakes me up exactly 15 minutes before this, and I go outside with them and sit and do the sunrise.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
changes the flow of your entire day.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Yeah, that's when I'm in Belize, I'm on the beach before sunrise, and to watch that big orange orb come up out of the ocean is like there's nothing like it.
Well, if you've really worked and spent time connecting with nature, everything feels you as you take in that energy, which is just one of the most incredible things that could ever happen.
Right. Right.
It's like this, oh, you're aware of it and it's aware of you, and everybody should have that.
Yes, absolutely. And what happens is that, I mean, like the sunrise, we'll use the sunrise and as a perfect example, is that you see that sun for me when in the winter, that sun rising out of the ocean, and it's just this, it like, it takes your breath away. It's that one of those wow moments. It's like, wow, wow.
Hmm. And
And
you
this happens.
so it's like every single cell in your body
Yes,
remembers
yes.
what a remarkable planet it is.
Yes, yes. And but what's like literally happening inside you is those wow moments, those aha moments is the oxytocin. There's a hormone called oxytocin
Right,
gets released during those moments in the peak moments. That's when oxytocin gets released. I mean, most of the research around oxytocin is between mother and child at birth.
right.
It gets released, but it's the bonding hormone. That's what it's called, the bonding hormone. So it's how you make the connection. It's how we connect. And so here you are, like, wow, oxytocin gets released, cell receptors uptake it out of your bloodstream as it's going through the bloodstream. And then what it does is oxytocin initiates the restorative response, very different than cortisol, which is the stress response,
Right.
the restorative response. So every time you have one of those aha moments or wow moments with nature, or in any aspect of your life, but nature's a good one that
Yeah,
you
it's a really
know,
good
seeing a
one.
beautiful flower and you smell it and you're like, oh, this is heaven. I love it. You know, it's like you're being restored. You're coming back to the balance point. That's what oxytocin does. And that's the bonding hormone. That's how we connect.
That's why
So,
I always walk inside and say, wow, I feel so wonderful.
exactly. So, as
Hmm.
many of those wow moments as you can have is very healing. I mean, that's a very healing aspect that is, we're just hardwired in that way as a way to connect. And so, as many times as you can have that happen is really good for you and it is going to really restore your health.
And I wish that I could remember the mathematics of it. I learned this in college. Everything in nature is aligned so that it is the most beautiful thing for our physical eyes. The mathematics of that prove it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like when I made the little comment about amnesia and all of that, like wild water. So what is wild water? This is another example. A wild water, it's water that flows out of the ground. It comes from a spring that's down in the earth and it flows out of the ground. I am of one of the lucky persons to have a spring right here on my property. And, I just put my water bottle right underneath the water coming out of the ground. So wild water, all of our cells are surrounded by um, it's called structured water. I know it sounds like it should not be called that, but that's what it's called, structured water, meaning that it's moving water. And so when we drink water coming out of the ground that's moving, and we drink that, and then our cells are like, whoa, yeah, I recognize you. And so it's one of the best things you can do to drink water that's moving. And so
I play in it as I did throughout my childhood.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you have that opportunity, which I do, luckily, it's just it's like there's so many things in nature that when we connect in that way, it keeps us healthy. We don't need to go into, I mean, if we eat wild food, meaning, dandelion greens, I mean, everybody, almost everybody, has dandelion greens growing in their yard. And all it takes is a little handful. Just put a little handful in your salad. That's the most nutrient rich vitamins and minerals that you can take in because it's the original food that was put here on this planet for animals to eat. And so, when we take in that kind of nutrient as opposed to, well, highly processed food, that's like on the other end at the
Yeah.
extreme, but our our cells recognize that is as like, oh, this is part of the original blueprint. This is what our body recognizes. And so it takes a whole lot less energy to, integrate that kind of nutrient. It's so all these things that again have slipped out of our memory that maybe, I mean, I would say my grandparents, so not my mother's generation, but my grandparents knew all this, but it's a couple generations back. And
Still there.
it's still here. No, it's still here. We just need to remember it.
Hmm.
So that's what it's about. It's a remembering process, waking up and remembering. And once you start to drink that wild water or eat a little handful of dandelions, I know you're going to say, oh, but they're so bitter. Well, guess what? What do bitters do? Bitters, right? The minute you put them in your mouth, saliva starts to come. It helps to break things down. It helps you to digest easily. I mean, a whole cascade of events happens. Not to mention, bitters are really good for like keeping a healthy liver, which,
Hmm.
is the organ that filters all the blood. So,
But animals know. My German Shepherd had an allergic reaction, and He took me all around to all the jewelweed that grew at the edge of the forest and ate it, which immediately made his allergies go away.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's an indoor dog. No one taught him. His body knew.
His body knew. Exactly. Well, that's the way it is with us too, is like we know, it's just that it's been conditioned out of us.
Yeah. So we're coming back to that. And one of the interesting things she said is that the same amount of time that goes into separation and ego can go into awakening and be a catalyst for a big change in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, so basically this has a lot to do with epigenetics and how, so basically what that means is that okay, I'll start from the beginning. We have two intact strands of DNA as far as we know at this point in time. I mean, that's starting to change a little bit, but basically, two intact strands. We have the capacity for 12 intact strands of DNA. Intact means just lined up, they're all lined up. And up until relatively recently, they were calling all this extra DNA junk DNA. And I was like, are you kidding me? You're going to call it junk
That
DNA?
was my first thought too. It can't be junk,
Like,
it's in there.
excuse me? I don't think so. And so luckily now they're calling it non-coded DNA because it's not encoded. So basically okay. So what's being understood now through epigenetics, meaning epigenetics is that your environment and what you're surrounded with, that which you surround yourself with, has an effect on gene expression. So that all of this DNA, and my sense about this is that once we start to wake up, because I think at one point in time, all of this DNA was intact
It
and
was.
something happened. I don't really know what. I
That's
mean,
what the wolves tell me. We could manifest anything by going outside, thinking about it.
because
Then it was
because
turned off.
something happened that split asunder this most of our DNA, which kind of put us into that place of not really operating from our original blueprint, which really has to do with brilliance. It's like we're designed to be enlightened because at the nucleus of the cell are the biophotons, particles of light. Anyway, it's kind of a long story here, but what I want to
But
say,
let me say it another way they can understand. As soon as you start going through awakening, you have moments that you see the particles of light in the middle of every cell and everything. And your heart tells you that. Forget science here. Your heart knows that, and you know it too if you're listening.
yeah, yeah. So we have the ability through epigenetics to encode this DNA. That's all this DNA that we have there. We're only using like 10% of our DNA. And so I feel like as we begin to wake up, as we begin to remember, that what starts to happen is all of this DNA, it starts to line up again. It starts to remember. It's like remembering is like, bringing the members back together again and making this intact strand. And when you have an intact strand with all the biophotons at the nucleus of the cell, it makes a beam of light. They call it a laser. They actually call it a laser beam. And it's these beams of light. That's really how communication takes place. All communication in the biological world is through light and sound. And and when they become intact, it means that we we become more, I'm going to use the same expression, more enlightened. The light makes a beam instead of a particle. So that means that then we have a greater opportunity to communicate with all other aspects of biophotons and biophonons with light and sound, which carries a vibration. So it all happens on this vibratory level of light and sound. And we have all of that here. It's all here. It's not something that we have to.
We don't need a revolution. We just need to wake up.
That's right.
When there's enough light, it will wake everything up.
Right. And the fantastic research that was done by Fritz Albert Popp, he's passed on now, but he was a German biophysicist. His research was about all of this, was about the biophoton. He's the one that discovered biophotons at the nucleus of the cell. And what he started to do in his research was transferring the biophotons from plants to people. Because what he found was that people who were ill, let's say cancer, let's say the big one,
Hmm.
that their cells, he said, the light went awry in the nucleus of a cancer cell. The light went awry, meaning that it wasn't the pattern of light
Was
was
skewed.
was skewed, was not toward health. And so he would transfer these via a machine, transfer these biophotons of plants to the unhealthy cells to repattern the light toward health, which
And
it did.
that's how it will work in the world. I heard you.
And this is like, to me, this is like, you talk about revolutionary. I mean, why aren't we doing more of this?
And as we said before we started talking, it goes back to Paracelsus. He said every plant has a spirit. It sacrifices its spirit when you ingest it to heal you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also what healers know is don't take anything without a positive intent.
So when you think about that and you're sitting with a plant, just you're being with a plant, you're in your garden or wherever, and you're consciously like in your heart and making a conscious connection with this plant, you're receiving those biophotons
Oh,
directly
wow.
from the plant. No, it becomes a two-way street. This is for me when I'm talking about plant communication. This is what I do is like we move into that place where we're exchanging biophotons because that's how it happens. That's the communication. You experience it as a vibration. You can feel it in your body as a
Oh, yeah.
vibration.
Your body is like, thank you, please don't go back in.
Right. Right. So just imagine that. I mean, literally sitting in a garden or in a field full of wildflowers or it's anywhere in
Or
nature.
a park.
That's what the forest bathing thing is all about that came out of
Mhm.
Japan. The forest bathing, take a walk in the woods. I mean, I could have told everybody that, we'll just take a walk in the woods, but now they're like monitoring it and, checking everybody's blood pressure and all that kind of stuff to see what happens when you walk in the woods in kind of a conscious way, and not to mention all the terpenes that are coming out from the trees. But anyway, so
Okay, so we are getting to our break, and we will come right back and tell you more fascinating things about the revolution of light and awakening with plants. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Julia Griffin at OneTrueSelf.com, and I am talking with Pam Montgomery about how our connection with nature, our ability to awaken, and our ability to connect with plants can change our future very rapidly. So, Pam, where I wanted to go into was tell us about communicating with plant spirits and what it was like when it first happened for you.
okay. When it first happened. Um, oh, it happened in my garden like years and years and years ago. I'm talking, poof, now it's been 40 years ago, probably is when it began. Um, and things started to happen in my garden that I couldn't explain. It was like, what's going on with that? Or there was like right about in my peripheral vision, like you can sort of stretch your eyeballs and see, but not really. There was all this darting movement.
Mhm.
And I was like, what's going, sometimes I would almost like jump, like what was that? And, I could sort of see it, but not really. And then I started to also then see these kind of white, not really white, translucent, maybe translucent gossamer like things. Anyway, that's where it began. And I was like, what is this? What is going on? And this was a long time ago. There was not,
Mhm.
not tons of books written about any of this stuff back then. The Findhorn books. That's kind of where I went to. I went to reading about what was going on with these folks in Scotland, and they were working with the nature spirits and the divas of the land and all of that, and they were growing these giant, cabbages and giant vegetables, like literally almost out, it was like sand. I mean, it was not super nutrient rich soil. And how is this happening? And so that's where I was like, oh, so maybe that's what I'm experiencing in this garden. So, how do we work? How do we work with
Mhm.
this? So that's really where it began, was like, there's something going on here. And
Yeah,
it made me
I
really,
had a completely different sensation, which was because my garden kept getting bigger. I had to keep moving the plants. And so when I would move them, I would have, if they were supposed to go to a place, I'd feel like gravity pulling it down. And one day I decided not to listen. So I'm carrying a giant plant around and it said, put me down. I don't want to go in that hole. And it so shocked me that I just like fell over. And it was like, did you say that? And the plant said, don't put me there. And then I started hearing them all.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, wow, it really does have a voice. Haven't made it
It
up in
does
all
have
these books. It's happening to me
right,
now.
right. Um, that's great. So for me, as time went on, I started to realize, as I mentioned, like this whole thing with the light and the sound is like when I was with a plant, I would get a sensation in my body. I would feel it like as a
Right.
sensation, not an emotion, but a sensation.
And like a healing plant, you can feel the healing coming from the plant.
Yes, yes. And so I started to be like, oh, so is this the vibration of the plant? Is this the light and sound, which of course, we see in a narrow band and hear in a
Right.
narrow band, and there's all this other light and sound. And is like, oh, so I'm receiving the vibratory, from the biophotons in the nucleus of the plant cells. I'm receiving that as a vibration, and I can sense it. I can get a sensation so that I can identify the plant's vibratory resonance, what the
Hmm.
plant's vibratory resonance is. And so that's what I started to do. And actually, this work originally, this way of working, it's actually a technique. It's called focusing. And the man's name was Eugene Genlin. And he worked with focusing in kind of the psychological arena. And it was really about getting in touch with your emotions and that kind of thing. And I worked with him years and years and years ago. And so I was kind of like, oh, but I realized that I was receiving a sensation like he described. And I was like, oh, so this is the way in which I can identify the plant's vibration. So, and then I can name it. I can put a name to it, or I can put even a posture to it, or something like that. So like rose. So rose for me was the felt sensation is softness.
Yes,
Everything's
I
soft,
was going to
soft,
say that.
soft, 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 soft. And the focusing part of it is like, well, soft is kind of way out here. What kind of soft? Is it soft as silk? Is it soft as velvet? Or is it creamy soft like butter? So you take it from way out here and you focus it, you bring it in, and you describe it as exactly as you possibly can, what that sensation feels like. And then when you're not even with the plant physically anymore, what you can do is be like, soft as silk. And you can literally call up that vibration. It's kind of like, picking up the phone and saying, hey, hi. And so you can be right there in that same vibration with the plant. And that's where the communication takes place, when you're on the same vibratory resonance. And it's kind of like, riding the same wavelength. Those expressions that we have are kind of like, they're for real. Oh, we're riding the same wavelength. We're on the
Mhm.
same wavelength. Yeah. And so usually, like, if you're in music, it's about an octave
Sure.
apart, is like, but you're still, that's harmony. So when you ride the same wavelength about an octave apart, then you're in harmony. But what I have discovered is that you can actually start to vibrate at the same resonance as the plant. And then here you are. There's no separation. That is when the merge happens. That is when you make the connection. And it's all in the vibrations. It's all in the vibratory resonance. And you feel it in your body as a
And
sensation.
it feeds you and it feeds the plant.
Absolutely. It becomes a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
my vibe.
a symbiotic relationship.
Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, and then what happens is like you receive that you're riding that same wavelength, and then what happens like from the sensation is this emotional response kind of bubbles up. So you get an emotional response, and it's like, I mean, it could be anything. Typically, it's joy because you're like, oh, I'm so excited. But you could be angry. You could be sad. You could cry. And everybody's like, oh, but I was angry. Oh, that's terrible. No, 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 no. Anger is not bad. It's the inappropriate expression of anger that gets to be a problem.
Well, the
No.
earth feeds on all emotions. It is the
Yeah.
only one of the elements. You can be furious, you can be crying, you can go work on the garden. And I was so surprised to see when I went through a phase like that, that part of the garden grew tremendously. It was completely neutral about what I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it could be that the anger that you're feeling is that maybe this is what the plant works to heal.
Mhm. Oh, it
Inappropriate
did.
anger.
Yes,
So
it
all of
did.
those messages that all that that's coming to you, don't disregard any of it. Don't dismiss it as if, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that way. No, no.
Because I remember thinking I'm going to kill the plants in the mood I'm in, but it didn't. The opposite happened. They
The
grew
opposite
hugely.
happened. It helped heal you. Yeah,
And if there is an emotional release, I would say being with plants is a very good way to take care of it.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then the other piece of all of this is that what's important to remember here is actually, the plant is really initiating a lot of this. I mean, we think we're in control. We think we're the ones doing it. But I have to say, usually the plant is getting your attention somehow. You're attracted to it. So there's this attraction towards this plant. That's the plant getting your attention so that this communication can. So when you're sitting with the plant and you're receiving the felt sensation and all this is happening, I call it the daydream. You're in the daydream of the plant. It's not your daydream. It's the plant's daydream that you happen to be a part of. So then you start to pay attention to everything that's going on around you. What's going on around you? What is the daydream right here that we're in? And you pay attention to like, oh, there's three hawks circling overhead. Okay. Oh, there's children laughing over in the yard next door. So you pay attention to every single thing that's in the daydream, and it's all part of the picture. It all helps you. It's like all of it is like little pieces of the puzzle, and then you start to fit them together and a picture starts to
Well, it
emerge.
gets us out of the matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about elementals and divas, what people should know about them.
Well, yeah, that's a big topic.
I know, but I know everybody's interested in it, which is why I brought it up. We could just
Well,
make it
the
short.
whole elemental thing is kind of interesting because, I mean, what I see is that there's a trifecta going on here. There's humans slash animals. There's the elementals, and that covers a lot of ground. Just that word, elemental beings, nature spirits. I mean, some people, there's lots of different words for different aspects, but basically it's the elemental slash nature spirits. And then there's the plant world. There's the trees and the plant. And these three aspects are really designed to be in cooperation, and like I call it a trifecta. It's like and so what's happened here on the planet is that the plants and the trees have been holding down the fort, not to use military terms, but have been holding the center, I should say. And elementals, the nature spirits, they've gone into hiding in many areas because of the abuse of the land. And they're like, no, no, I'm not going to do this. And so they've like said, see you later. And humans have fell off the cart a long time ago. So what I'm seeing is that what's happening is these three aspects need to be coming back together again. And the elemental beings and the nature spirit beings, I mean, they're the ones that really help within nature to manifest, I mean, make manifest.
Right.
And so what I do where I live, I invite the nature spirits back. I'm in total, honor and thank you so much. And and I leave little gifts. I leave gifts for them. I have little at the opening of my garden, as you enter into my sanctuary garden, I have a little stone, two stones going up and a stone across, and they're called fairy houses. So I build little fairy houses. I leave little gifts in the fairy houses. I totally welcome them into my territory and that we will never do any harm here to you. Some people do designated areas for the nature spirits. It's like, okay, this is your area. This is where you can be. I don't like to do that. It feels like putting them on a reservation. I feel like, because originally they had all of this land to roam and they left because it
I
was
didn't
being
honor them. They were really only used in spells.
right. And the land became so abused that it was just
Mhm.
kind of like overwhelmed, they just like, I'm out of here. And so I feel like they're super important part of the mix. I mean, you need to have all three really to have the perfect balance, but they're really important because they have so much to do with the health of all of it.
Mhm.
And
It's
so,
sort of like a magical unseen force behind it.
mhm, mhm,
I mean, it's just like you can have a perfect garden and perfect soil, but if you're not in alignment with the seeds or the plants you're putting in, they're not going to live.
right, right. Well, I mean, there's the seen and the unseen world, and the unseen world is just as important, if not more so, than the seen.
Right.
Because so we need to take into consideration that there's this whole unseen, which I mean, they're there. It's just that, you might not be able to see them with your eyeballs. And so, but they need to be taken into consideration for sure. And then the whole Davic aspect, which is kind of the overarching,
Mhm.
you
Part
might
of
be,
it.
yeah, it kind of has the big picture of maybe a landscape or a garden or something like that. I mean, of course, the Deva needs to be taken into consideration as well. So one of the things that I like to do, and I encourage others to do, is like I make a pact, you might say. It's almost like it's like an agreement. It's like a contract or something. It's like with the nature spirits and with like this is what I will do. This is my part, and perhaps you might consider this being your part, and I'll do whatever you inform me that is the best way to be working with these plants to give them optimal health and well-being and balance and all of that. I will attempt as best I can to do that. And then I make this agreement. And then like every year you renew it. It's almost like a marriage, it's like you're
Marriage
agreeing to
contract.
be in union together and
Hmm.
we each have our parts to play in this marriage. And that's kind of like that. So that's what I do. And a lot of especially in not so much in this country, but I mean in Ireland for sure. They've been doing this for centuries. And you go to Ireland and they're like, "Oh, sure, you're going to be taking a hike up on that. Oh, be careful of that fairy mound up there now."
Hmm.
I mean, they still openly talk about like the elementals and everything. So,
So for
um,
people who aren't familiar, we have gnomes, we have fairies, we have sylphs, we have undines, which are like mermaids in the ocean, and they say salamanders for fire, but I really believe that's dragons.
right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely yeah. So there's a whole like even within the whole nature spirit elemental queendom, kingdom, whatever you want to call it, it's like
It's
A
so funny you said queendom because I know you're
kingdom.
right.
Well, a kingdom is like, wait a minute. What about the
Yeah,
horse?
you could feel the earth coming in. Hey, I'm female.
Exactly. So, yeah, there's a whole like species. I don't know that you could call it species. I mean, like, within humans, there's different races. It's the same with the elementals.
Yeah.
There's different. They do their different things. They have their different little jobs they do, and all of that. So yes, so it's a whole study within itself. But
And then with divas, one of the fascinating things is comfrey happens to be an herb I like. I always have it. Every single herb plant, no matter where I put them of the comfrey, will have the same vibration because of the same plant spirit and properties that live within them. And they say if you make friends with the plant spirit, that will grow for you and it will keep growing. And then I had a Native American tell me one time when I was looking for some plants in the forest that I knew grew there, he said the plant has to want to meet you. And
yeah,
once it reveals itself to you, you'll see it everywhere.
it's true. It's true. They come to you. And
Hmm.
even like if you move residence and then you'll see the next year, oh, that's the same plant that was in my yard where I used to live. Oh, here it is again.
Exactly. Okay, so tell everyone what is the new dream for the future?
Oh, yes. Well, there's this thing called interbeing, which was a word that was coined by Thich Nhat Hanh, the um, Zen monk from Vietnam, Vietnamese Zen monk. He's passed on now, but he coined this word. And basically, interbeing is it's interconnection, it's connectedness, it's interdependence, and that how we're all of life is dependent, on we're all dependent on each other. And the other interesting piece about this whole way of being, they use the word interpenetration, which I'm like, interpenetration, that's an interesting way of putting it. But how I see it is it's what we were talking about earlier. It's that merge.
Mhm.
It's like we really have the ability to merge so that there isn't any separation. There's no separation. And it doesn't mean that we lose our of who we are. It doesn't mean we lose that. It just means we have the ability to merge with another aspect of nature. And I think that's what when they say
Mhm.
interpenetration, it's like penetrate. Okay. But I see it as the merge and that is possible. And I know everybody has experienced it at one point or another in their lives, somewhere along the line because it happens. It just happens. So this whole notion of
Easy way for people to know what you're saying. When you're in love with someone or you have a baby and you touch their hand, it's the most amazing sensation.
yeah, yeah,
There it is right there.
yeah,
But if you're going to feel a plant or an animal or a tree, at least briefly, you're going to become what that tree, plant, or animal is.
yeah.
You lose you for just a second and then you merge together.
Merge together. Yeah. And so that the plant actually understands who you are too. So
Mhm.
so there's so what happens is you move into this place of the beloved where you become beloveds. One of the things that we are doing now is plant initiations, they're
Mhm.
called. And it's where in the evolution of us and plants, I mean, plants are actually one of the things that they're doing in their spiritual evolution is they're moving into the place of initiating us. They're taking on the role of the elder. The elder in the tribe used to initiate the young people into the tribe. So, this initiation process is the plants are taking on the role of the elder, initiating us into what it means to be truly human, walking the path we came here to walk, living sanely within the collective, with all of our diversity, still being able to live sanely and in peace and in balance together. So, this whole movement in interbeing of being connected, of being dependent on each other for our well-being, and this interpenetration, this merging is, I see this as the new earth. Some people are
The,
speaking
the,
about
the real revolution,
the
because
real
nothing's going to
revolution.
happen from going out there and saying something or yelling or fighting with people.
Because then it's the same old thing. It's the same old
It's a
paradigm.
low vibration.
It's the us and them thing. It's still fighting. It's
Hmm.
and if we don't let go of the warring thing, I mean, it's so archaic. I'm so shocked that we're still warring. And but we are. And so we really need to shift that. And that's what's going to shift the paradigm. So we tell a new story. So what's the new story?
No
It's
more
the people
victim and
oversharing.
perpetrator. We should point that out. That's got to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. So anyway, I just
You're
like,
moving from victim, perpetrator, hero to merging,
yes.
right? Waking up the DNA and finding that 528 hertz vibration of universal love. And you're telling people how to do it through plants.
Plants is easy access. That's what I find. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it. This is not the only way. There's lots of ways to get to the same place, but plants are easy access because we're so symbiotically related to them.
And
I
we
mean,
have to eat plants.
we have to eat, we have to, we don't make tissue from sunlight, they do. And then we eat them and make our tissue. And, we breathe because of plants and trees and sea vegetables. I mean, on every level, we have our life because of plants. And so they're very easy access into this realm we're talking about because plants are just being themselves and have never tried to be somebody else. We, on the other hand, have gotten into this thing of like, which facade are we going to wear today? And so instead of just being who we are, which ultimately
Is
is
the
the
best.
frequency of light, that's
Yeah.
who we
And another interesting thing you're saying about this, so that no one gets confused, everybody's individual DNA and person and the way they communicate with nature, because when we talked about plants, it was very different, but we ended up in the same place from communicating with plants. We need all those little bits and pieces. Like it would be really boring if there was just one kind of tree or one kind of whatever.
right. Right. Yes. What do you see when you look at nature? When you look out at nature, you see massive diversity.
Yeah, that's
It's
what I
not,
was thinking.
monocropping is not a part of nature.
No. And in the spring, all the leaves must turn 1,000 different colors before
Oh
they turn
gosh.
into summer.
One year I started to try to count all the different colors of green.
Hmm.
I
You
lost
can't.
count at one point. I couldn't. It was like so many shades of green. So that's why I love to share with plants with people because it's an easy way in and it's an easy way to and so here's the exciting thing that I'm seeing right now is that when I talk about these plant initiations and that this is part of the plant's evolution and it's of a spiritual nature, it's like raising the consciousness to the next level. And the plant, so throughout time, plants have always preceded their animal counterparts in evolution. So, for example, angiosperms, which are flowering plants with internal reproductive organs, evolved before mammals. That was their animal counterpart because mammals needed something to eat and they had to. So here we are, all these millennia later. And what's happening now? What's happening now is the plants are evolving spiritually. And so that means we're right behind them because they precede us, but we're coming right behind them. So that means that we are on the cusp of a huge spiritual evolution right now. And the plants are guiding us in that. I find that super exciting. I feel like this is a super exciting time to be on the planet, even amongst all the chaos. It's super exciting because we're right there. We're just on the cusp of it.
Pam, we're running out of time. So would
Oh
you
gosh.
share your website with our listeners so they can find you in any upcoming activities?
It's wakeuptonature.com. Just all one thing. Wake up
And your new
nature.
book so they can find it?
And my new book is you can buy it from me off my website. It's Co-Creating with Nature, Healing the Wound of Separation. So that's my new book, which all
Thank
that
you.
we've been talking about is in there
Thank you
and more.
thank you so much for being with us. If anyone wants to find me, my website is onetrueself.com. You can sign up for my newsletter and get information about what's going on with me and my take on different events. So everyone, thank you so much for being with us. Namaste.
Thank Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.